In the beginning of my tenure in my apartment, I didn't have a TV. I used to watch my stuff on my laptop, on YouTube. Before my bed arrived, I was on a sponge on the floor that I had bought from the mattress shop. What have you. Finally, my furniture arrived, and I was content. Like, I got home and I would just like in my bed or on the lounge table or go lounging, on the dining room table or go lounging. Yeah, I managed to fit all that furniture in a 1-bedroom apartment. I would be on my laptop. I would watch my stuff on my laptop. Plus, there was just no avenue to be doing very much else because before I got fired, I was busy. I was very busy. The program that cost me my job that I was working on took all my time. So mengenasikhathi vele to be like, I bought a vinyl to play vinyls because it was old school and I liked it. I bought basically like a radio, but I did not buy a TV because I just figured, listen, I don't need it, okay? And that's how I finished my joint. Now that you know that, and now let's move on to speaking about the doofus. The doofus Udumi, that's like Dorf. So therefore he's like Dorf, and he's a doofus. And I'm gonna tell you who Dorf is just now, okay? Utwelang mo strateng. Bongwa nexi bongwana bontwaiza bo sambori. Alright? Mamela. 2 years progressed from that date. What a fish pays fast forward. I lose my job. Things go alright. I lose a case at the CCMA. Listen, my story is long. I then find myself, because I'm now fed up, I can't live with my mom. She's excruciatingly persecuting. I then make a decision, listen, I need to go and live somewhere at peace as a grown woman, away from this woman. And in that season, I'm gonna look for a job. And for me, I told myself, listen, I'm a young professional, skilled. I'm not gonna be out of work indefinitely. It's been 11 years, going on 12 years. You did that. South Africa, the deep state. Listen, you're a little Satan. Moving on. Or a big one, depending really. Iran ought to have given you that title as opposed to Israel, because you're the real little Satan. You're the real little Satan as opposed to Israel. But I guess their loyalties are all in the wrong places. Moving on right ahead. So then I deep state South Africa that is destroying the life of said Karaba. Okay. Ne? Bosambodi, bosatan, that are trying to put me in a casket before time. It's literally all that very basic. You're here, like dringa. It's giving whirlwind in the head all the day long. It's giving a frontal lobotomy. You're not gonna make it. Anyway, whatever. 2 years down the line, I now am living in my own apartment again. And the furniture that I had put in storage is now in this apartment. And I bought an extra bed because it was a 2-bedroom apartment. I bought whatever it is that would fill out that 2-bedroom apartment using my pension money. It was a decent enough amount. Out of that money, the same mother that gave me grief, 20,000 rand out of my pension payout. Just as a thanks for accommodating me for these couple of months that I've been living here and you giving me grief and breaking my camera and refusing that I should do the work of the gospel. Thank you. Here's 20k. I literally gave her 20k. And look at what she's doing to me today. Anyway, whatever. You know, when people are ingrates, I'm moving on. I did not imagine that I would be unemployed just indefinitely, like just on a loop, like never. I even bought a van. My family took it. Like a second-hand van. Go on there. That I imagined I was gonna need. Because I was sick and tired of paying furniture removal companies. So if I had a van, I would just hire a guy to drive it. And if I needed to move, because I had just moved so many times that I was like, a van is a worthwhile investment. And now my Isuzu Bucky, listen, I don't know where it's at. I bought a Bucky. I don't have my Bucky anymore. My family took my Bucky. Anyway, listen, my life has just been a series of hardships. But it's okay. Just like that 8,000 to 10,000 rands you had a smart TV, so too is the Bucky. It all came from Jesus, so I'm not too bereft. Let's move on. The Lord has been the one to tabulate all that rich people have stolen from me, and they will have to face him if at all they don't give their lives to him, and so have their slates cleaned by the God of the universe. What did you steal from me exactly? Y'all be needing somebody to be erasing all that, and yet you are rejecting the cross. Anyway, whatever. So 2 years later then, I'm living in this new, bigger apartment, and okay, so when I was living at home with my mom, having Mamela in the beginning, after I lost my apartment because MTN would not give me my pension money. Listen, my story is so long. They were not talking to me. They were literally talking to my mom like I was made an invalid by a court of law that had declared me unable to basically contract on my own behalf and made my mom perhaps like a guarantor over me. They were talking to my mom and not me when there was not even a thing that was agreed on by a court of law. So many laws have been broken. So MTN wouldn't talk to me as a result of them not wanting to talk to me. Whenever I would tell them, please give me my pension money, they just ignored me. So the reason why I lost my apartment that I was living in and didn't carry on paying rent over there, because I would have stayed in my 1-bed apartment in Lone Hill 4 ways, okay? It was quaint, it was cute, and I was gonna stay there until I got another job. I was gonna take my pension, a portion of my pension money and pay the remainder of the rental for that year and maybe even another year's rent just to secure for myself a place to stay. The place where I was staying with the landlord. But my mom, everybody underestimated me and spoke to me like I was a child, including that landlord. He ultimately repented. In the beginning, my mom was blowing steam as the thing that is representing me. A whole grown woman with a legal personality that was utterly being ignored. Mamela, like I said, South Africa, Pantiti, you're the little Satan. I don't know why Iran be calling Israel the little Satan. You're the little Satan. I can't tell you who the big one is at this point. Maybe Russia, maybe China, but it's certainly not America. South Africa, you're the little Satan. Let's put epithets and sobriquets on the right place. Let's put badges of honor where they belong. You're the little devil. Because you, little devil country, and all of your gnarly, monstrous people down here in the ground that have wreaked havoc in my life, denied me a legal personality even though don't nobody regard me as invalid through a court-ordered, mandate or whatever. And yet, my landlord would not talk to me but my mom. My MTN would not even talk to me like my mother was the vessel through which I got my pension money. I couldn't believe it. Y'all are gonna get sued until your socks pop off. I'm telling you, this stuff is coming even though you don't believe my story. Listen, it's gonna happen. You're in disbelief. I don't know why you're not disquieted about that disbelief, because am I not out here giving Aaron Brockovich all the day long though I don't have a law degree? I'm gonna sit for your whole chunk of people. It's gonna happen. Moving on. Yeah, I know. MTN Aja be ignored. Listen, that company owes me pretty much half of their EBITDA. At this point, you owe me half of your earnings before tax. Hi, Suga. Yes, that company has broken so many laws. So many. Anyway, whatever. Let's move on. MTN completely disregarded me, treated me like I was an invalid, would not listen to me speak, and I got my pension money through my mom when I was living with her. So what happened is, this is not funny. Perhaps it's satire or parody. I'm making light of that, which is actually quite dire. I lost my apartment because I couldn't pay rent anymore. And I remember there was a time when after losing my apartment, I tried to live at Wits University. I did that. And I tried to sleep over there until I would get my pension money and get a new apartment. While I was fighting MTN for not talking to me. Investec, everybody would not talk. Listen, I've gone through so much. Okay? Even Alexander Forbes, the underwriter for pensioner MTN. Everyone just ignored me and rather chose to speak to my mom, even though there was no court mandated invalidation of my person of that nature to a point where I would have her as a guarantor. What the heck? Like I said, they owe me half their earnings before tax. It's duh. They owe me 14th Avenue Coffee, the whole building or half of it. They owe me so much. MTN owes me the whole company at this. The damages are through the roof, and what I am is going to bring forth the class action lawsuit that's going to sue you through other people too. I'm going to be a precedent for a class action. So, after paying me pretty much the building that is 14th Avenue in damages, they're then going to have to pay everybody else, Constantia, and the subsidiaries, the AutoPage and the ones, the stores, MTN stores and the Clearwater, retailers and outlets. They're gonna have to pay the rest of South Africa that they did dirty. The HVRCs and the MTN stores and malls. You're gonna have to just give it to people. The way that you're just gonna be so horribly, cancerously sued until you just don't have a company anymore. You owe me all of 14th Avenue. But the rest of South Africa, that you've done this to you as a company, you're gonna owe them MTN stores across all of your retailers. I'm telling you now, you're gonna just be giving people the HVRCs. I'm just gonna give them to you. You're gonna give them out. MTN is so corrupt. It's so corrupt. My goodness. Right now they're working with Iran in trying to wreak havoc in the human rights of Iranians. Iran sell Gechilo, so over and above it you might even have international criminal courts all up in your grill. You're just not gonna start that company. I had a dream when I was still employed of where it is that 14th Avenue is at. That's like it's back on fire and it's mine now. It's I'm gonna make out of it a block of flats. I don't know. I had a dream of MTN where it's at today, and I thought it's because the rapture was going to happen, and this is something that's going to happen in the millennial reign of Jesus Christ. But now that I have thorough comprehension of theology and not theology but prophecy, now that my prophetic viewpoint has been altered to eradicate what I would imagine the rapture is happening imminently and tomorrow, I now believe that the rapture can't happen for at least another 100 to 200 years. if at all this prophecy at MTN is going to come to pass, it says that the company is being erased from the face of the earth altogether. Right now it's doing so well that nobody can fathom MTN never existing anymore. But aren't they working right now with this like terroristic regime that's falling apart? Like God is uprooting crazy little companies. And I had a dream when I was still employed, and I kept telling my colleagues, I like, listen, I kept dreaming about this when I was working at MTN, to a point where I would tell it as like my colleagues, I was like, I had a dream, guys, like listen, I be out sounding like Martin Luther King. And I was like, my friend, listen, I had a dream that there where the coffee shop is at was like a proper like Ackermans. Like Ackermans, wabona mole, mo di lifting kopela di boardroom tsa kopela di lifting. It was like a king pie, dog, like a king pie, like because the MTN was made into a mall. Like not MTN, but 14th Avenue, that building, Yako 14th Avenue. I kept dreaming about it so many times. Ile mall and the boardroom, ile like pep, Ackermans, at gas. Yeah, basically what you can find in a store. Food court downstairs where it is that staff members indeed would sit, canteen, cafeteria. Yeah, thing. In a food court, yeah, mall. And then outside of MTN, like I'm on Lego parking lot thing, yeah, go phase 1. In a other like it was like a legal firm, like the company. Set up like little companies, like you know when you sell a retail site to companies, and so they have office buildings there, and here they've got like a real estate firm, and then here they've got like a legal advisory firm, and here they've got downstairs there was like a legal and advisory firm. The legal and advisory firm was in the parking lot, and it was like a whole office building. And I walked in there and I was like, I'm supposed to be go parking lot thing. Why am I in a firm? Why am I in a company? When I'm the receptionist and everything, but ma'am, like sit down. You wait to see an attorney, and I'm like, this is supposed to be a parking lot. Why in the world is there like a building for a law firm? Like why is there a law firm here? And when I got out of that law firm and went upstairs, y'all, it was a mall, and like individual boardrooms that I knew on my floor, like Ochrabis and whatnot. Instead of it being Ochrabis, it was like a Pep or a Jet or a Foschini, like Shopo. And then by the lifts, Nohona the King Pie, and then the coffee shop in the canteen area was a food court, and the coffee shop was like, listen, it was just a mall. It was just a mall. I can't give you the proper details. And these dreams, I got them back to back, almost not so much almost every night, but I had this dream so frequently that after each and every single one, I would tell my colleagues on some, guys, I keep dreaming about MTN being a mall, yo. So when I say that y'all gonna give me like the building in damages, understand, y'all gonna give me the building for damages, and then it's gonna be demolished and made into a mall. Okay, fine. So that is a joke. I am of course walking in a hyperbole. But MTN is going to face so much legal action, and the company is going to be so untrusted, and God is going to judge it so hectically that it's going to cease to exist as an organization. And where it is that 14th Avenue is at right now, I have come to conclude that this here is not about the millennial reign more than it is the veracity of what's actually going to happen with the company. Eventually, is that it's going to be uprooted, and where the premises are at right now today, is going to basically be rebuilt into a mall, remodeled, refashioned into a mall. Y'all can't fathom it, but that's what I saw, and I kept seeing it. And it was so bad that one time there was this one woman that bewitched the living daylights out of me until, listen, I lost even my hair. That happened, right? This chick was in the foyer of an organization that I understood to be where she's now working, because she did ultimately leave MTN after ang lawyer ang Rika Hevoko, ne? Mara, where it is that she was working, in the Cradlestone Mall. It was Cradlestone Mall, the one down there, go Cradlestone, man, as you go to like Casino LA, yeah, whatnot, free Fire Star or Free Star, whatever, 5-star, listen, some casino down that other side. It was Cradlestone Mall. And however, she was arriving at work, and the building was like scantily staffed. There was barely any staff. Engati, but they couldn't work there. It was a big chunky building that however had scant staff in it. Like, imagine MTN 14th Avenue only having like 100 staff in the building because it's facing liquidation. It's too big. The building itself, it is just too gargantuan. The cost of maintaining it as a going concern is too lofty for the benefit, because there aren't even enough staff members working here. That's how like scantily staffed this here mall was. And that was the Lord showing me that while that chick might not be working at MTN anymore. She's an extension of the South African workforce because ba busy bantu ba loya di colleague ba senya batho ba rika havoc mo maphelong a batho. And so pretty much companies, a lot of them are going to face liquidation, extinction, annihilation, removal from the face of the earth because they're just not going to be able to function and cope anymore. And offices that were built to accommodate 2,000 staff members are only going to have 300, and they're going to have to either move, downsize, liquidate, whatever, but the company's going to have to significantly shrink. Like, you know, when you build for expansion, you move to a new site in order to expand because you imagine your business is going to keep on growing. And then something hits you, and then you now have this buzzer of a giant, gargantuan, like mammoth feat of a building that you imagined you would be working in and employing and expanding in for years to come. But then it faces financial hardship, and then somebody else buys it, like what they did with Health and Racket back in the day. And then somebody else buys it, like what they did with Health and Racket back in the day, remember? And now Health and Racket is what? Virgin Active. It's still maintained as a gymnasium, Yona, however, Mara, it's Virgin Active, it's not Health and Racket. Yeah, type establishment thing. MTN is going to be something of that nature, but instead of Bona being another telco, it's just going to be different businesses that maybe like one big chunky like billionaire might buy the site, but rent it out, like office buildings, a mall here and there. Like all clear what a mall. The office buildings as well, even though it is a mall in and of itself. There are also companies that operate there. It's also close to Volvo, and they've got Volvo premises over there. Clear water, and it's got Volvo offices and what have you. Is it Volvo? Yeah, I stand corrected. But some car dealership that is out there doing a thing over there, clear water, something of that nature. Yeah, you look at that thing. So when I say you're the little Satan, if you're little Satan, look at what God is doing to this here biggest state sponsor of terrorism that done called Israel the little Satan, and America the big Satan. Even Mosh Taba, who sounds like Mojalefa from down the street. Yeah. I guy, Mr. Cardboard cutout. Look at how the Lord is eviscerating that little monster. That however for that giant monster that for 47 years wreaked so much havoc that nobody thought he could be uprooted, and in just a matter of weeks, days, Trump out to be making a joke out of him in the White House. The Bible, it is written therein that though the wicked may fall 7 times, though the righteous, may fall 7 times, they get up each time, but the wicked are suddenly overcome by calamity. So they reign terror for 47 years, and in just a week, they're wobbly-legged and barely recognizable, and ignored by their big chunky friend China and Russia. That's what happens. God destroys overnight structures that are oppressive and tyrannical, giving people all that much time to repent. But these here structures would have beefed themselves up over a very long amount of time. So when I say MTN, you owe me in a very hyperbolic, of course, hyper-expressive fashion. When I say that you owe me pretty much the whole building that is 14th Avenue, you owe me the building, and you're going to owe South Africans, the retailers, the others, the subsidiaries, the MTN stores and the HVRCs, all the investments that you have all across these streets, the partnerships, those you're going to pay out in damages to the class action plaintiffs that are going to follow the precedent of my particular case. I guess that's why you want to put me in the ground. That's why y'all need to come here thing and just unleash a live round in my head. If at all you're going to get rid of what it is that I am, because I am a gargantuan, mammoth, huge thing all up in your grill that you're ignoring. I told you earlier, I made a joke. I was like, I'm like that stone. That stone that comes into your shoe and you can't walk, dog. It's so small, it's so minuscule, and yet you can't walk, and you have to take off your whole shoe and take out your sock and I'll just shake the sock and figure out what in the world to do. You have to take out the sock and shake the sock and what have you in order to be okay, because like what in the world this thing, it's making me walk around with a limp. I'm out here wobbly legged, like what's good, but it's a stone. That's what I am. Today you see me as non-threatening to a point where licentious boys think I'm their side chick or somebody to ram into in a hotel. Yeah, but that little stone, Jesus says that the stone that the builders rejected becomes the cornerstone. That little stone belongs to the cornerstone, and that little stone already was shown in when she was still employed. I look healthy, there was not many qualms in her bones. That more MTN thing, it's just going to be a mall right next to office buildings for different companies. Today you can't fathom it, but I mean, why can't you fathom it when they literally disregarded my legal personality and spoke with somebody else, and all of the companies with which they worked, Alexander Forbes and Vestec, also chose to ignore me. So I couldn't get my shares, also chose to ignore me, so I couldn't get my pension money. Listen, they just robbed me of money until I ended up moving back home to my mom's house. And only once I was in my mom's house were they then talking with my mom pressurizing me to get pension money. I then gave her 20,000 rands of that pension money, but it would not be the end of just this whole heinous thing that this here little Satan called South Africa is doing. Like the Iranian regime, you be wreaking havoc for 47 years, but look at you get eliminated in just a mere 2 weeks. Nah, make that a week, make that a day. Frankly, ever since the first day when they went in, it's just been like downhill from there. I love what Trump says, that they're ahead of schedule. So, okay, Like, I don't care. Like, I don't care for what you are doing. Today you are a big monster and nobody can fathom how you can ever be brought low. But God raises people up and they bring stuff low. And when then these things are brought low, nobody can imagine the day ever coming when Mr. Yellow Summer is no more. When here, the second largest telco in the country and the biggest one in Africa is just a fraction of itself. It is just something unrecognizable. And it is a buzzer building. That Archer kicked out Karl Pina even though it was his baby. Buzzer building. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. That however cannot, for its size, substantiate neither justify how few staff members they have on their books. You remember how much you disregarded the Labor Relations Act in so firing a cool chunky bunch of people time and time again. What you did was fire them. No, it was not a Section 189, okay? It was not retrenchment because what you did was illegal, given that your books... Okay, so I digress a little, but let me walk in this digression. And then after this digression, use the bathroom again one last time, and then continue to tell the story about the doofus. So you can have a grasp of the fact that MTN is falling, though today you can't fathom it. I've been so upset with how well the company has been doing the past couple of years because I've been looking pretty much at where it is that I could find it being spoken of, though largely I avoid the news because I'm like, God, where is my justice? They got fat, they got sleek, and look at their company thriving. It's got the blood of the martyrs all up on its balance sheet. How in the world is that even balancing those books, though they've been cooked and they're crooked? How's that even being balanced? How is that not giving somebody a run for their money? But I guess, I mean, if the CEO over there is Kat Matlala, what are we gonna do, okay? If men like those that can actually be killing Papita Singh for simply finding, what do you call this, irregularities in the books, and then the woman finds herself dead even though she's like a mom of a teenager. Yeah, I mean, men that can order a hit on Papita actually be running companies like MTN. Like, what in the world? So, I mean, of course they're gonna crash and burn. Like, the corruption was a thing already at the time when I was employed there. It's probably much worse now, okay? Because, I mean, look at them working with Iran as well. It's probably much worse today. There was so much crap going on at MTN when I was working there, y'all. Like, people that were not getting fired even though they had performed abominations. People getting placed in jobs even though they were not appropriately fit for those particular jobs. And then those who decided that they're gonna make like honest folk, we made ourselves heroes. And that's why I'm planning to get in a career, dog. I'm not luto. Listen to me speak, y'all. I'm like a whole calculator tabulating all up in your grill, making like hidden figures. Taraji P. Henson and Janelle Monáe. Yeah, I'm on that tape. What MTN did to me that made out of me Taraji in Hidden Figures. But I was the brain behind that freaking operation, and they got me fired. Do you understand? Fired. Shit. When a country can do that to people, like, where do you think you're going exactly? Like, are you tap dancing? Are you wearing ballerina shoes and with a tutu, just kind of oscillating on the spot, but like as a muscular man? So you're unfit for that particular position. What are you doing? We don't know, but you're doing it. Okay, MTN at the time of me losing my job, they even tried to invite me to a Section 189. So there are rules in this country. I told you guys that the Labor Relations Act makes it near on impossible to fire a person. It makes it near on impossible to fire a person just like saying, Sizwe, you're fired, just because you don't like Sizwe. Sizwe has to go through quite a rigorous process to lose his job. He first has to get a first written warning, a second written warning, and then after that, fired. If at all, he fails all 3 tests. And then even with his disciplinary, his third written warning, his third infraction, he then receives a dismissal, a letter suspending him with immediate effect, pending an investigation, and the likely result of that investigation of which could be dismissal. And these here strike 1s and strike 2s, after a certain amount of time has passed, the strikes must be removed off his record so he has an opportunity to start again from strike 1 should he infract again, right? So if after 5 years Sizwe has been a good boy, he's not going to face strike 3 when he acts in a wry fashion in year 5. Yeah, there are rules. And so much so, listen, the Labor Relations Act was put in place by the South African government in order to improve employment stats in this country, because unemployment was at like an all-time high. Listen, it now is worse. We're in double digits, I believe like 33 to 40% unemployment. So the Labor Relations Act has not done anything for the country, or has it? Not. If at all, it was a follow to the T, because it is a good law. The stats in this country for unemployment would not be sitting where they're sitting. First and foremost, people are not allowed to leave people out on a limb without employment based anymore, according to this very Labor Relations Act, on them being put on the credit bureau, or them, okay, criminal record is always going to be a thing, them being put on a credit bureau, because then if you don't give them a job, how are they going to pay off their debts? And secondly, you can't give a bad reference anymore. Because if you give a bad reference, people are then kept out of the job, and that that is an infraction on the human right to make to earn a living. So basically, to capitalize your skills needs to be enabled by the South African labor force. And if at all somebody actually gives you a bad reference, they're blocking you. They're functioning as a barrier to entry to employment. So there are so many constitutional rights that are being broken against me. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah, they're functioning as barriers to entry. That is the first and foremost thing, and you can't do that. And if at all you don't, you can't give bad references, you of course increase employment statistics in the country, because then people, based on them beefing with bad bosses, are not going to be blocked from getting a new job, and so therefore contributing to the unemployment rate of the country. And then there is also you not leaving people out on a job unless it's the financial services industry, because it is a material piece of information to eradicate somebody from working in the financial services industry if at all they can't be trusted with money. So if at all you're in the credit bureau, you of course can't work for a bank because you can't be trusted with money. But all other industries are fair game. But people are regarding such things as those. They're still based on that law. They should have basically with it also outlawed checking credit in order to see if you can hire a person, unless it is in an industry where it is material for you to have a sound credit relationship or personality. Like in the financial services industry, they ought to have been the only industry allowed by the law to do credit checks. Everybody else, it must not even be named among them, because then you might discriminate on people based on that. But recruitment agencies are still doing credit checks, and so therefore undermining and discriminating against people who are on the credit bureau, who may have been put there by unemployment. So it's not like they don't like paying debts and so they just leave for a shoddy person. They make for a shoddy human being. They could not pay their debts, and as soon as they get a job, they'll start to pay their debts. So you're basically allotting a credit for a personality flaw, a character flaw on people that might just have had life happen, right? So the law was rightly founded, but there was just no proper checks and balances and people put in place in order to execute the law. In order for it to take effect, it would have actually eradicated unemployment in the country if at all it was a follow to the T, but there's no such thing. So that's one thing. And then you also, like I said, can't fire a person unless you go A, B, C, D all the way to Q in like just a rigorous red tape bureaucratic process. And that's why unions were even formulated. You can't just fire people. And so what then happened? That's exactly what sort of kind of low-key happened with me, though my story is just, it's intricate, it's complex, but whatever. Let's try and speak to whatever facets of this intricately woven argument that we can speak to without laboring too much on this one particular topic. People could not, you basically had to go through a lot in order to fire people, unless of course they were on contract, in which case you could just end their contract. But if you've hired them permanently, it would pretty much be like trying to remove red wine, a red wine stain on a white carpet. Like, dream on, nobody's getting fired. So you keep people employed, that's the law. And it takes a lot for you to get people fired. Rehabilitation is like a whole thing, it is adored, right? Gotta love that law. It's not like the US where Donald Trump can make, like in the show The Apprentice, you're fired. You can't just fire a person. In South Africa, there are laws, and the reason why they were put up was in order to eradicate the unemployment rate, especially after coming out of apartheid. It was lofty. And of course, black economic empowerment, I hate it now, I can't stand it, but in the beginning there is room for affirmative action for the first like 5 to 10 years maybe, after systematic oppression. After that, you're just being unfair. So now, especially considering we're supposed to empower black people, previously disadvantaged groups like Indians and Coloreds, but what it's doing is that, look, I was benefited by I just say that. I was benefited by employment equity because the learnership program that pierced me into corporate South Africa in the first place was there for only colored and black kids. So I got in thanks to it empowered me. Listen, it worked. I was ripped off unemployment streets as a youth, and look at me now no longer contribute to the abysmal stats of unemployment in the country. And then the country makes a decision to ignore the very laws that got me a job in the first place and then fired me. They then fired me, put me in the unemployment batch, and then said you're gonna gather a SASSA grant, functioned as barriers to entry going forward in the future that I might not work anywhere else. And so the very black economic empowerment that empowered me to get a job now ignored itself as a law and put me out of work. And so therefore added to its own abysmal stats, which is why now today I feel like it is the vomit, the bile, the green stuff coming out of my stomach. BEE, I can't stand it. Because so many people are corrupt and they are insisting on maintaining it as a thing. This whole BEE thing, when they disenfranchise black people after empowering them through the very laws that in the beginning were okay, and now they've embittered white folk in the country. And that's why a whole bunch of them are even applying for asylum in the US, because now they're also getting persecuted and their farms are getting taken. Elon Musk couldn't even put up Starlink in the country because of all that corruption. I can't stand it now today. There is room for affirmative action after a certain heinous feat against the very people that is benefiting, that is benefited by the affirmative action. But when it lingers, and I have lamented against this for a season, so we're not going to labor on it. So was supposed to eradicate the unemployment of black folks that have no experience, but then it lingered for too long and it also disenfranchised people. No, is now hurting white folk, and now it is also being used to beef up the pockets of people who already are employed, are not contributing to the unemployment stats of the country. It's just feeding the rich that have already gotten super wealthy off it, while keeping those that were meant to be benefited by the system out of the system. So listen, go die, put a bullet in your brain, I don't care anymore. And then thirdly, the acts, the laws that they put up in place in order to eradicate unemployment and unfair labor practices, just firing people at a whim, right? Those laws are also being ignored. So it's hard to fire a person. So first you give them a job by EE, and then you make it hard for them to lose a job. That should at some point have brought the unemployment rate of this country, given that the majority of South Africans are black, to maybe like a single digit, like 8%, 10, 15. By now, 15 is even a lot. By now, if all EU was employed and people were law-abiding citizens and they actually affected it, black economic empowerment should have been eradicated by now because it would have done its job. And so therefore, now it's an equal playing field. And secondly, unemployed youth would keep on, would not be, never mind youth, just the unemployment horde of the country would not be unemployed, because you respect that you can't just fire a person without cause. Or you can't just fire a person because they were late for the job today. Give them a first written warning, second written warning, and if they don't get rehabilitated, then listen, you're tardy, get out of the job. Leave. We can't trust you. Yeah, I got fired without cause. Charges were trumped up. I was a law-abiding citizen, contributing among the highest taxpayers in this country. I was so well paid that I was banking privately. I was in private banking. I got tapped on the shoulder off when my salary was noticed by FNB. And I ended up moving from net bank to private banking. So I was among essentially the top 5% or 2% or whatever of the country, in a nation that is the most unequal in the world, and where the majority of the population is nice and poor. And now I've been made bankrupt, having been among one of the biggest contributors to the South African economy at some point. And then of course I had these big business entrepreneurial ideas that would then have made me first a small to medium enterprise that might even become a big business that would then have hired more and more people, and so eradicate more unemployment. I am a mind in the nation that was needed in order to reform the country after apartheid. And I was a young woman on the come up, so more so was I going to be a success story because I'm a woman and I was young. And I was not born free, but at the latter end of apartheid, so I would have been a nice success case for South Africa to put as a plaque on the wall and say, look at what our reforms have achieved. Instead, they have ripped me out of the economy and ascertained I go nowhere. And so that which would have been their big fat chunky thing to pride themselves with is now arriving and complaining against the country, trying to defect because I'm living in a gnarly little nasty satanic regime that don't know whether it's coming or going. The way it's so naked in the street. Yeah, okay, very well. So the very laws that are supposed to empower people are disenfranchising them. No, the laws are not disenfranchising people. The disregard of the laws is causing disenfranchisement of people, because the laws in themselves are actually quite perfect. Well, perfect is a strong word, but we've got a beautiful statute, we've got a beautiful constitution, and we've got generally beautiful laws. Do you understand? That's why South Africa is such a wonderful nation to live in insofar as you came in here legally by everyone across the world. People marvel at the glory of its infrastructure. It is Africa's most industrialized economy, and the laws appear to be somewhat safe for you to live in if you are anything at all coming from anywhere at all that you go, because you've got a right to a freedom of religion over here, a right to a freedom of speech. Like, we've got all these things, but listen, don't nobody care that we've got a freedom of speech, because look at the CPR commissioners giving Heimlich maneuver, what is a CRL, whatever, trying to take away religious liberties in spite of what the Constitution got to say. So our laws are beautiful. The problem is not the laws. The issue is in the disregard of the very canon that has made this nation what could have been a wonderful country, but now it's like, what's going on? It's a snail, it's a snake, it's a rotten pomegranate, so it's not even giving fruitful. That is South Africa. Over there, it's hanging out like a homie in a tin and don't nobody care what it's doing, but like it's doing it. So hamba, I phrased that nonsense. Okay, very, very well. That was the one thing that I mentioned. And so within the Labor Relations Act, there was this like whole entire law, and I found this out from my mom and just my own little studies, because I can study, that Section 189 will have not just my mom, because I guess she's in HR, but also colleagues at MTN. Because I usually, Tina, when we are to be getting done dirty, we be out to figuring out what's being done to us dirty that we might fight against the dirty, until you realize that fighting over here gonna get you fired like a rabo, so you stop fighting. Now everybody's mum and scared. We came to learn as staff members at MTN when they just kept on retrenching people one after the other, after the other, after the other, group upon group upon group, and it was just so rebellious. My goodness, this country, we're not supposed to be getting fired so easily, but look at us go. No, it's not a retrenchment, it's a firing. It's a firing. I see it for what it is. Listen, that was happening. And so staff members were like, did you know? Almost like they be out reading a chappies rapper. Did you know that after doing a Section 189, they cannot do another one for a year and a half? So when they fire employees, they can't fire them again in a Section 189 for another year and a half. They gotta try to see what else they gotta do. So fire once and get it over with. Unless, of course, kushubile and you have to liquidate, then only can you justify it. But there are things that would, basically things that were making doubly sure that you can't just fire people mahalanji just because you're trying to line your pocket. The very ANC that out here legislated all those beautiful laws could not take them in their stride because I mean, does the guy not like money in the couch out here hanging out at Pala Pala Farm? All these money launderers and storerers all over the show that get pardoned even though don't nothing out to be making no kind of sense for pardoning. Yeah. I'm sure they were lining their pockets. They were also not fixing our electrical infrastructure. They were just lining their pockets, so they could not stomach their own legislation. And the law said that you can't just fire people because you want bigger bonuses. Like, it's a fraud. Don't do it. It's a crime, you dumbo. But the dumbos did it anyway. They just kept firing people. And then what's also worse is that you can't, it's firing, it's not retrenching, because that's what it was. Though they out here veiling it with the clandestine cutesy coat of retrenchment, it's not retrenchment, it's firing. Alright, then, of course, companies could just make a decision to retrench a whole chunk of people that they might give executives a whole chunk of money, or big chunky people that stand to benefit. Not flatten the structure, but peak the structure, put more bosses than is absolutely necessary, that those bosses may get like a whole chunk of bonuses, and they just fire everybody down here in these streets, in this here hierarchical structure that don't make no kind of sense. Do all that, right? MTN, however, did not peak up their structure. They did flatten it quite a bit, but still, in spite of it, of the success or the good business practice of flattening, that one I can commend them for, because we don't need all those like bosses into which to escalate and like, you need to go to this guy and then flattening was good, but it didn't do anything because the people that they put in the loftier positions after flattening, it was like you chose him to head now a whole department where before he was heading just a mere business unit, because the structure was flattened. You chose him. Like the people that they chose to boss these now flatter structures, which they were just like you could not understand. Like the worst people lost their jobs and the best people. The worst people lost their jobs because they were the best people, and the most gnarly little cancerous monsters walked around running all of us, even though they did not know a single thing. Listen, a single thing. They couldn't even read the alphabet chronologically. Every so often they'd be skipping over Z. Every so often they'd be skipping over P, and every so often they'd be putting Z in the middle of P. But they're running a whole department. Why not that guy? Because he not only can actually tell you the alphabet, but the Greek alphabet, because he that dude. But that dude had to go and find another job, or worse, demoted. Listen, he's now like a rebel. You used to be my boss, now you're the same as me. The worst people got promoted, and the worst people got demoted. Okay, I don't care for your flat structure anymore. It's like a pancake that doesn't have air bubbles in it. It's badly done. I'm not eating it. Get out. But they didn't get out, instead they fired me. Okay, look at you go. The intention over there was to create maintenance of employment structures that made for a healthy nation, but they just ignored all that. Okay, whatever. And then they kept on firing people. Section 189, you could not just fire people, but if you decide to fire them, you can't fire them again for a year and a half. And the criterion upon which you are allowed to fire them, herein lies the structure. You as a company cannot be making this much money. Your debt equity ratio cannot be at this height. Your earnings before tax cannot be at this height, given in proportion to basically forecast visions of the country. If you've got a certain earnings before tax, and if you've got a certain eventuality in a balance sheet, if you've got a certain ratio of how your company is doing, it doesn't matter that at some point you had bumper profits and the market so needed your product that it was basically selling itself. And so you're flying, you're soaring, as opposed to merely walking. It doesn't matter that you're used to bumper profits. Bumper profits are still not a prerequisite to keep people on staff. Profits at all are. And if at all you're making them and your company is not facing liquidation, if your company is not facing, what do you call this? Loss of customers, clients, if your company is not facing difficulty to pay staff, if your company, if you can still comfortably pay salaries, right next to increase them every year, right next to also give decent bonuses every year to everybody, never mind just executives, you can't just fire people then on the day. And MTN fired people. It's firing, it's not retrenchment. When your company is doing so well that other companies out here are groveling and coveting your numbers, but you're not doing as well as you used to a point of out here paying middle management a cool 1 million rand for a bonus. Whoa, what, you want to maintain a cool 1 million rand for a bonus? Give them 50, give them 500k and keep people's jobs then. Or don't give bonuses this year. There are so many other things that you can do. Like, not give bonuses this year. Rather than fire people. They don't need a bonus, but they need their salary. And MTN fired people because we couldn't give luxurious bonuses anymore. They're not pressed down, shaken together, and running over like it's a provision from Jesus Christ anymore. So for those reasons, I mean, the bonuses at MTN were apparently so lucrative at some point that from one bonus, call center. It was that good. Listen, that is like a honeymoon phase for a company. A marriage don't stay in a honeymoon phase. Listen, and there are peaks and there are troughs. So sometimes people go through a hard time. MTN fired people even though they could keep them all on staff. However, cut, never mind bonuses, but at least for this year not give increases. It wasn't even bad enough to eradicate things like increases. They could keep on giving people increases and short change. I'm a bonus, yeah, but keep everyone employed. But they kept on doing section 189 after section 189, breaking the law. I spoke all that and meandered a little bit. I didn't want to get into my very heartbreaking story of why I'm unemployed today, even though, listen, I'm smarter than you. But I got to a point to this point to help you understand why it is that it is, of course, true. The prophecy that God gave me about MTN being a mall, an office building, oh my. And yeah, and for law firms, and where it is that there is the coffee shop, when I lay some other little strange mall shop that sells lingerie or whatever. Can you see why the class action that I'm talking about right now is feasible? Can you see why? First of all, it's all the people getting fired without cause, people starting unions and losing their jobs. HR are supposed to be mediators between staff, neutral mediators between staff and their bosses, management, whatever, between basically staff, be you management or a subordinate. But I like to call, listen, what MTN did to me, I get it, they are called human resources management. I called them management of human resources. I used to call HR at MTN management of human resources. They're not human resources management. They are management, in other words, executives, upper middle management, basically bosses. The bosses. It is the bosses' management of subordinates. That's what HR is. But that's illegal, right? That's illegal. It's not supposed to be that way. They're supposed to be a neutral mediator between staff, be they big honchos and small ones. That's what the Labor Relations Act is there for, to protect the interests of all employees, especially from being bullied by bosses, if that's a thing. But HR in this country is so corrupt across multiple organizations that it is no longer human resources management just generally having the backs of everybody mediating neutrally between staff, but it is upper middle management all the way up until executives and up until what do you call this, essentially the heads of companies. It is their management of everyone else. They are management's management of human resources. I coined that term. No, nobody gave it to me. Listen, I coined it, so please give me copyright and a plaque for that. I need it. I have not been given sufficient acknowledgement for all of my innovations. So Kupanja fella, credit where it's due, because all this time you've been robbing me of credit. I see you. You copyright thief, you plagiarizer, you. They are management's management of human resources, because HR was used to meander, mend and bend and twist out of shape like a contortionist artist. Order Cook assisted the law in order to help management deal with stuff, as opposed to y'all being neutral. And that's what happened to me with my case. I realized that I was not being mediated on behalf of by HR, but that HR was helping bosses deal with me. And then I lost my job. Look at me go. A cool 12 years down the line, I'm still nice and unemployed. Can you see why that little like baza of a beastly building is one day going to be a mall? Can you see it? Can you see it? Can you see it? Can you see it now? Yeah. And this year is not just happening with MTN, but across multiple companies. But I'm speaking about MTN right now, because are they not the ones that are out here wreaking havoc in Iranians' lives as well? Listen, I got a bone to pick with anyone picking a bone with Iran. Okay? Yeah, I'm shooting you dead. It's like the passion I have for Israel. Don't come at us. We're shooting you. And so I'm shooting you, MTN, because you're shooting Iranian civilians. You're shooting Iranian civilians with your Iran cell ugly, corrupt disposition. When I kiss kissy clanking those swords like you're in a battlefield in the medieval times. Because aren't you just clanking your ugly knees together and so trying to run away from justice? Look at you go clanking. Quang, quang, quang. I got lines, Ayong. Sure, I got lines. Somebody give me a plaque, I need it. Okay, so now I am distracted because I'm doing an edit over here. But yeah, that's what happened. So a whole bunch of staff members got fired from their jobs. Like the MTN just has so many section 189s in the same department in just 1 year that it was just bizarre. People just kept getting retrenched. Others took voluntary retrenchment. Sorry for you on that day. You don't qualify for a lawsuit, but the ones that were retrenched without taking voluntary, they are subject to damages. They are subject to damages. They are subject to damages. Because they were fired without cause, the law of the country stands for them. And so MTN is going to be sued into obscurity, into oblivion, until Iranians also cheer, because what is up with you helping the cause along to block internet that people might not show how many dead bodies of Iranian children are in the street as a result of the IR freaking GC. Yeah, I said that. MTN be helping that agenda along with its telco ambitions in Iran. Yeah, so I mean, can you see how intricately woven all of these things are? How they're weaving themselves together like a kook sister. They're coming together. Can you see? Just like the Iranian regime falling apart, why MTN is also going to fall apart. Companies that are out to be helping. Like I said, ANC is like a state sponsor of terrorism. And ANC is hugely engraved in the workings and the dealings of MTN. There's just a lot of trash going on. More fancy. Right now we're talking about Doofus. So let's not labor too much on all these other issues. However, they are intricately woven to the works of Doofus because he is privy, this here Doofus, he is privy to much of this which I'm talking about. Privy. Because they're just lining their pockets. They're getting so wealthy off the bones of South Africans. My man, they've made a ladder going to the sky. Satan. You should have just come here and just gone pew pew. Unleash a live round in my skull and let me go to heaven. Mara, y'all think I'm too pretty to die, or I must kill myself because you are trying to test whether or not Jesus exists? All these things that are making you just kind of trepidatious to like end me already are the reason why that which I'm saying right now is ultimately going to come to pass. Because I'm going to be the domino that's going to tip all of these like class action lawsuits. Domino number one, Mamela, me. I'm telling you right now. I'm talking to you, J-Love. Stop calling me a prisoner. I am going to be the precedent for a class action lawsuit that is going to frankly render your balance sheet like those clanking kiss knees on a medieval battlefield going quing 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 until somebody be out here collapsing all the way to the floor like Jenga blocks. Because kiss like my teeny achigago falling. It falls like that, but instead of it being my teeny, it's his knees. Sounding like my teeny achigago falling. Yeah, your little Jenga blocks worth of a marathon are gonna fall to the ground. They're gonna fall because the country is gonna sue you into oblivion. Sue you into oblivion. Sue you. Maradufus, he's involved. Anyway, I told you all that to help you understand more or less in trying to get to a point. It's more or less really, it's like high level. Why it's entirely feasible for MTN to at some point one day be a mall. When I got the prophecy, I couldn't fathom it. Seed bars like a Woolies, unfettered. Now today I got a chick saying you'll never buy anything from Woolies again because what's evidence of the deep state? Like that ugly little witch on an aeroplane speaking to a colored lady about how it is that she's an ANC B-word. Yeah, all these ANC B-words are out here to burn and fry with their little bosses that are running around on a battlefield clanking those knees, twing, 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 like swordsmen on a medieval battlefield, twing, 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 until our like Jenga blocks on the floor. ANC with its bees gonna all fall because listen, your corruption that makes you feel safe today is unsustainable and you are going to fall apart because God has taken up a cause. And otherwise known as Cranberry K. Hallelujah. 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 Yeah. No doubt. Already the dough with methylated spirits. So that's a pepple because now you're not going to have money anymore. Anything that you drop, bruh. You still gonna get drunk, you still gonna get nice and high on the supply of Satan. This arm and a live round in my skull. I am going to be the shaking like tectonic plate beneath your companies. I'm that thing. You can already tell it's the whole reality. And then when I this thing, get a whole mammoth beast walking around. I'm like Godzilla in a town, one footstep be out to making like an earthquake. And yet you don't see Jack in me. Because today I'm just a small little grainy stone in your ugly, ugly sock. Hallelujah. I'm making it hard for you to walk. Oh, goodness. I've got lipstick over there. That stone is making it hard for you to walk. Just like that guy, Wakiskisi, whose knees are out just clanking on a battlefield. Quang, quang, quang in medieval times. Quang. There's an hour like my teeny Chicago. Now the stone is what's making you clank your knees in your shoes. Today you can't deal, but you think it's just a small little stone. Remove it. It's annoying. You're walking around wobbly. Just remove it. Then you'll be fine. Except that stone is about to be the very thing that is a stumbling block to all that which you are. The end of your whole satanic regime. Mamela. Me. Karabo. I said it with bravado and bravery. Because God said it. Because the Lord told me. And I'm going to share it because I trust His word. My Savior, the one who will never fail. Yeah, Lady Satan, amen. Moving on right along, Lady Satan into a way that did not think much of me until I become that thing with a capital T. Amen. Well, when I died, doofus was Satan in I veered and I digressed for all of these minutes. I thought it was going to be brief and succinct, but have I ever been brief and have I ever been succinct? You should have anticipated it was going to take a good 40 minutes before I got to the point. Anyway, whatever. Yeah, no. Doofus or nah. I was telling you about my television story before I veered and I jeered and I digressed. I did not have a TV. I got one. But then, I was living with my mom for a season. And during this season, when MTN was out there breaking laws from here to Timbuktu, building a class action lawsuit for the country against themselves, with me being the first domino that's gonna tip and so therefore sue the living daylights out of them successfully. Because of the way that I was being treated, and because I get my mom, what kept me sober and sane in the beginning without a TV that I had lost? Ministry, being able to upload, carry on doing what I'm doing, continuing with what I'm doing. My mother, continuing with the life that I'm basically just kind of continue with ministry. That's that which gives me perfect peace. It is written in God's word that you keep him in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on you. Therefore, because he trusts in you. You keep him in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on you because he trusts in you. The work of the Lord kept me in perfect peace and my mind was stayed on him. I trusted on him. But when you are made to be divorced from your mission, that which keeps you in perfect peace, that which keeps you cogitating on the Lord's word, that which keeps you in a purposeful mode as you're walking in that which is your calling in Christ, if you get divorced from that,